All right, we'll call to order because we do have a quorum. We're going to break in a minute, I guess, to get a picture. So now that we've called to order, I will take a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved. Second.
Okay, anyone want to change the agenda? No? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. And item number 3, is there any public comment either online or in the room? None online and none in the room. Okay. We have finished item number 3. So before we go into item number 4, let's get our picture taken. Now that Yolanda's here. Okay. Yep. So we'll recess for about 3 minutes.
You did it there last year.
Thank you for waiting for us, for those who are online. We will go ahead and call the meeting back to order. And item number 4, approval of the minutes. First of all, we have minutes from the January 10th meeting. That was us. I'll take a motion to approve.
I move we approve the minutes from Wednesday, January the 10th. John Graham.
I'll second Mayor Dixon.
Okay, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, that passes. The second set of minutes was our special subcommittee meeting of the to choose a new CAC member. It was actually myself, Dave, and Rick, and Jim who were there. So we'll take a motion to approve those minutes.
And I move to approve those minutes.
Second, Mayor Dixon.
Okay, we have a motion and we have a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, any opposed? Good, we get through that item too. All right. The next is, first of all, item number 5A, if we could have CAC member Ann Nichols come up. We're going to recognize her for her many years of service on the committee. Dave, you get to come over to this one.
All right.
Okay. So Anne has been serving on the committee since April of 2018. So we're finally losing all of her wisdom. So the certificate says the Pikes Peak Rural Transportation Authority wishes to acknowledge its deepest gratitude to Ann Nichols for her invaluable contribution to the Pikes Peak RTA Citizens Advisory Committee from April 2018 to January of 2024. And so thank you, Anne, very much. That down. And where's Jim? We gotta have Jim too. Oh. Didn't give a speech, but. Oh, okay.
So I would have to say this about Ann. Ann's quiet and doesn't always engage, but when she has something to say, it's thought out and it's thoughtful and it's knowledgeable. And so Ann's been a very integral part of the CAC since she joined, and her attendance has been great, and she's always there, and you can count on her when there's a good discussion going on and she's got something to say. She makes sure that it's known, and we appreciate your service and your time, and thank you so much.
Thank you, Jim. And I'll just indicate that it was a learning experience. I didn't come into this knowing much about roads and highways and transportation, but learned a lot. And I think one of the things I learned clearer is how important this organization is in general, but especially to the smaller entities like Manitou Springs. So I enjoyed the service and thank you all. Thanks for the hard hat. Thank you.
Madam Chair, if I could make a remark.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the people of Manitou Springs are especially proud of Ann. She's one of our natives, comes from a venerable family. She brings a great deal of public service to everybody's table. She served on many volunteer boards and has been highly regarded in all those capacities. So she really sets the bar very high. And if the rest of us could aspire to do as well, we'd be doing would be quite effective. And thank you very much. We appreciate it.
And this is actually an approval item, so we'll take that as a motion to approve allowing you to leave. But go
So
ahead.
moved. Okay.
Dave.
Yeah, thanks, Madam Chair. And Mayor Graham, I don't know, a couple of years ago, I was going to go to an Adaman dinner. I think I even spoke to you there at that time. And to pay, I was too late to mail my check in. So I drove to someone's house. Turned out to be Ann Nichols' house, gave her the check, and we talked for a while. We were just talking now, and her father purchased that house in the 1930s. So you may have the longest single family owned or single family occupied residence or home in Manitou Springs with Ann Nichols right there. So I don't know if you have a special award for that or not. But.
No, that could very well be. And if any of you who might be fishermen or recreationalists, you may have been to Nichols Reservoir, and that was named for Ann's father, who was a longtime an employee of the Colorado Springs Utilities in the water department. So, did I get that right, Ann? Thank you, Sid Nichols. Yeah, he was. I remember it said he was a great guy. Just high regard for him. So, we'll check that out. Maybe we can put up a little brass plate or something at her house.
And we have to have a second to the motion.
Second.
All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Thank you, Ann, so very much. I don't know if there isn't a committee I don't see Ann at, so we love having her. Our next report is the Citizens Advisory Committee Monthly Report. Jim.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the board. Jim Godfrey, Chair of the CAC. So we met last Wednesday. Colorado Springs presented 13 contracts. A lot of those, as you'll see in your packet, are on-call concrete work, not a whole lot to discuss in terms of project scope. The others were described and discussed by Gail and the staff, and we make a recommendation to approve the city's projects as submitted. County also came forward with 7 projects. Again, some of those are material purchase contracts, but we also recommend approval of the county's contracts as presented. We discussed last month, and this month was brought back to the CAC some IGAs that approved the advancement of some funding for North Nevada Avenue, the BNSF property along the north side of that. The city's been trying to buy that for a while, and they kept saying no, now they want to sell it today. And so we did look at those IGAs and recommend approval of the request for the city to do that. The county also had a request, and we was identical IGAs. Our concern going into this was making sure that the RTA was covered in terms of liability and responsibility and that kind of thing. And so we recommend approval of both of those IGAs as requested. The city also brought forward a letter of support for the Bridge Investment Grant Program application. And we had a discussion over the need for that and the opportunity to use some federal funding for the design of that bridge. Yeah, where was it? I'm drawing a blank.
Academy Bridge over Platte Avenue.
Academy over Platte, yeah. And so we did have a discussion over that. I know that on the Platte Avenue study, there was a plan to redo that whole interchange as the way that interchange works out there. But what the city wants to do now is use this federal money to get ahead of that grant. And we think that's a good investment and we recommend approval as presented. Also, all of the member governments presented their maintenance of effort reports as required, and everyone met their requirements. And then we'll get into this discussion in the meeting later, but we did have a lot of discussion on EV chargers, as we discussed over the last month or so. Rick had presented Jennifer's, the lawyer's opinion of whether it is permissible to do under the state statute. We presented a long list of areas that you could maybe consider putting them. The city looked at that list and provided their input on where they could or would go if it was done. And so we had a long discussion on those lists. And then a suggestion was made that instead of trying to develop a policy that had every possible opportunity that you might want to do that, knowing that you probably would miss some, is to start with a no and deal with exceptions should they be warranted. And a big concern was whether they fit into transportation improvements, or are we just paying for somebody's gas? And so that was a lot of the discussion that came about. And so we don't have a recommendation per se, but I think we're going to get into that at the end of this meeting. So, and then we did have a discussion about CAC member in-person attendance. The advent of technology and Zoom and Teams have allowed some people to take advantage of just showing up online. And we've had a few instances, some of them understandable, others maybe not so much. And so rather than develop a policy, we're just going to emphasize that we strongly encourage in-person attendance. Everyone is in pretty much agreement that being in the room, people can see your nonverbal reactions to things. You can see it and get the gist of where the conversation is going. And that if you're going to commit to being on the committee, we'd like for you to commit to be in person as much as possible, understanding their circumstances. And fortunately now we have technology that allows us to do that and still be in attendance and participate. And most of the people that are online do participate and get engaged in the conversation. So I can say that in a positive way. So we're not recommending that we write a policy at this date, and we're not ready, I don't think, to come up with a mandate, but we're going to strongly encourage that members attend in person. So other than that, I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Do we have any questions? Okay, I'll take a motion to accept the CAC monthly report.
I make a motion to accept. Randy Holmes.
I second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you, Jim.
Thank you.
Just, I'm wondering if I could go ahead and since Dan's iPhone is on the screen, if we could take that legislative report out of order. Dan, can you hear me? Hopefully
I
he's-
can. Thank you very much.
Okay, if you can go ahead, let's have our legislative report.
Well, the session is really in full steam. Well over like 340 bills have already dropped. I will say we're tracking about 5 bills right now, but none of them have a direct impact on the RTA as far as our sales tax and revenue streams. Jennifer's looked at a couple of the lodging tax bills, but we seem to be fine on that. I think we can just expect about another 350 bills. It's going to be a very busy session, but right now, as far as the RTA is, we seem to be doing pretty well. We'll keep an eye out for anything that has to do with our revenue stream. Right now, pretty soon we'll be slowing down from the fact that about 10 gun bills are expected to drop in the next week and a half, which should suck some of the air out of the building. So right now we're in pretty good shape, but we'll keep a close eye on everything that's happening. And I'm happy to take any questions about the session in general. I do think the transition in the House Minority Office has been very smooth, and the caucus seems to be working together very well.
Okay, are there any questions for Dan? We're so happy to have a report that really doesn't give us anything to discuss. So that's the best
Yeah,
report we could expect.
I'm pleased to be able to be a little ray of sunshine for a change.
All right, so I will have a motion to accept the or approve the legislative report.
So moved. Second, Mayor Dixon.
Okay, we have a first and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Thank you, Dan. We appreciate your time. Just keep us updated if you see anything.
I will. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Bye.
All right. I just thank you all always for me taking that out of order. Go ahead, Jennifer.
Rick can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the approval on this item was actually keying to the board memo, which is suggesting that the board adopt a delegation to take positions on bills, not just accepting his report.
Oh, you're right. Okay.
So
well,
we can circle back to that, but I just wanted to make sure.
we'll circle back to that. So, if that's okay. All right. Next is our financial report.
All right, Lisa Corey, I'm the finance manager for the PPRTA. First of all, does everyone have their copy?
Mhm.
Okay,
Yes.
well, I'm gonna be a ray of sunshine too, because we finished out the year above budget. So the month I'm reporting is December, and I'll report the whole year as well. December, our receipts were $13,882,895. So that was $233,052 above budget. And when we look at just December for 23 compared to December of 22, we received $331,693 less. And we closed out the year just shy of 2 million, less than we did in 22. But our final for actual receipts was $154,289,544.
All right.
Any
That
questions?
is a good financial report. Okay, if there's no questions, I will have a motion to accept the financial report.
I move acceptance of the financial report as presented. John Grant.
I'll second, Mayor Dixon.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, any opposed? All right. Thank you very much, Lisa, for bringing us some good news. We appreciate that. Our next item, the capital maintenance and public transportation contract, City of Colorado Springs first.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Gail Sturdivant, City of Colorado Springs. As Mr. Godfrey mentioned, the city had 13 contracts for your consideration. The first one is for a bridge maintenance activity on 8th Street Bridge over Fountain Creek. There is a map included in your packet. This would be paid for out of a bridge maintenance activity. And really what we're asking is for the consultant to do, to look to see as we go and do some routine maintenance on that bridge, if we can actually widen it, basically adding on to it either to the east or the west, hopefully to the east. So we can help for some intersection configuration problems that happen really between Fountain Creek and where you kind of have the interchange that goes off to the east towards I-25 and then US 24 in that area. The contract would be for $270,015. I would start off with an alternatives analysis, and they had a viable solution. We would proceed with engineering and construction support with that contract.
Okay.
The second contract, I'm going to talk about items 2 and 3 together. The first one, contract 2, is for the Fillmore Street Bridge over Monument Creek. And the second or third contract is for Fillmore Street over the Union Pacific Railroad. Those bridges are both included on the PPRTA 3 list for replacement. But we need to do some significant bridge maintenance still today to be able to have those bridges last till we were able to go through to do a replacement project. There are maps included for both bridge locations in your packet. This work would be paid for out of our bridge maintenance funding. We did prepare engineering plans for this and had bids for this with our on-call contractors, and TLM and constructors was selected. For the first bridge over Monument Creek, it would be in the amount of $1,236,606. And for the second bridge over the Union Pacific Railroad would be in the amount of $821,20. City's fourth contract is for the city, the sidewalk infill program, and this program consists of 2 A-list capital programs that are listed in the A-list of the PPRTA ballot. It is the city, the pedestrian improvements, and the school and neighborhood pedestrian improvements. That contract would be for construction to even price in the amount of up to $1 million. And this is the 4th year of a contract that we put in place through an RFP process with them. Contract number 5 is to establish an on-call contract basis for closed caption TV and pipe support inspection. So before we go through and do transportation projects, we will go through and use these video cameras that go through our pipes to help with condition assessment. So if a pipe needs to be repaired or replaced or aligned in advance of us coming and doing a transportation project, we identify it and do that in advance. So when we go through the transportation project, we're not having to go tear that road back up right away. We went through an RFP process. We selected 4 providers for on-call services. They are Lucky Dog Construction, Utility Maintenance and Inspection, DRC Construction, and Pipe View America. I'm going to talk about contracts 6 through 11 together. In September of 2022, the city went through an RFP process to establish on-call concrete and ADA concrete services contracts with vendors. Each of these contracts is for separate work packages that would be issued for 2024 work. So for example, contract number 6 would go to Eagles View Concrete in the amount of $725,000. With each of these contract memos, you can see what's going to be assigned to each of those vendors and the maximum amount that we'd anticipate that work costing. Contract 12 is for the Parks Department. This is for the Templeton Gap Bridge, Templeton Gap Trail Bridge deck replacement. The Templeton Gap Trail Improvement Program is an A-list activity. In this particular case, that bridge has and there's a map included in your packet so you can see exactly where this is located. It is near the where the Pikes Peak Greenway and Mark Dowling intersect. That deck currently has a timber decking that's disintegrated. With this project, they would be removing that timber deck and replacing it with a lightweight concrete decking material. That is being awarded to SEMA Construction in the amount of $329,039.50. And the city's last contract is for a fixed route bus vehicle maintenance replacement, not maintenance, vehicle replacement. I think you may recall, we talked about the city winning a low or no emission vehicle grant from the Federal Transit Administration. It's we refer to it as a low-no grant. The other thing it gets termed is a 5339C contract. Anyway, underneath that grant, we actually did a joint application with two vendors, Gillig and New Flyer, where we could purchase a total of 6 hybrid buses, 3 from Gillig and 3 from New Flyer, to conduct 2 other pilots with alternate fuel buses. Underneath that grant, we are required to provide a local match. We finished contract negotiation with Gillig. So this particular contract is for the first 3, or the 3 that would be provided by Gillig. They are 35 feet in length. With the contract with Gillig, the grant would be covering $1,652,830. PPRTA would be contributing $1,101,869. So the total underneath this contract would be for Gillig would be $2,754,672. So those are the 13 contracts for the city of Colorado Springs, and I'll be happy to answer questions.
Are there any questions regarding the contracts?
I do have a couple of questions.
Yes, Councilmember Donis.
Yeah, thanks. Gail, to go back a few contracts to the pedestrian and school neighborhood, basically sidewalks, that one, $1 million for concrete for sidewalks.
Yes.
Do we already know where we're going to spend that money or not?
Yes, we do. Most of those will be used on, and I will ask Ryan Phipps maybe even to step up to the podium and answer, but on Cheyenne Boulevard and Cheyenne Road, as part of that project, we're going to be adding sidewalks in that area.
Okay. And most would be like 80-90% of it.
I don't know that I understand that last part of the question.
When you say most of it would be, is that like 55% or 95%?
I actually believe 100% of this is
100% to all of
dedicated into that area. And Ryan, please correct me if there's another area. Right. Okay. We do not have anything else identified right now.
Cheyenne Boulevard. Okay. And the last one about the buses, 35-foot bus, is that a full-sized bus?
Yes, it is a full-size bus. We, and I will ask Lan to step up in case I need to get this wrong. We have in the past purchased 40-foot long buses. We are going to 30 or 35-foot long buses. These particular ones we are ordering are 30'5" in length.
Okay. And how many hybrids do we own now?
0.
We just own electrics.
We have 4 battery electric buses.
Okay. And then how many diesel?
Oh, I believe it's
way more.
71.
70,
Is that
like
correct? 70. Ooh,
70.
so close.
Okay.
So close.
It's very close.
She will train
You
me.
couldn't be closer. Okay. Thank you.
Well, do we have any natural gas folks?
No, nor would
Okay.
we. They're even worse than our other options that are out there right now.
Got it. Okay,
If I-
any further? Oh,
Can I
go
do one
ahead.
more follow-up? How long do we plan to do the study before we go forward with any more purchases?
Lynn, I will ask Lynn to come up and talk about that. I will just add as she starts talking, we are working in an entire vehicle replacement plan. And I think that will be one of the things we'll identify opportunities, but I want to turn it over to Lynn to talk about that item.
Land Road Transit Services Division Manager, we are in the process of our long range 2050 long range plan. And as part of the long range plan, we have a zero emission vehicle transition plan. I believe that plan is one of the first deliveries in this long range plan. So we're still in the process of consultants are in the process of gathering data, talking to the frontline employees, looking at the impact, but we should have a final plan in the next few months.
Okay.
Yeah.
But we haven't even received the hybrids yet. We're going to get three and then three others.
Yes, you'll see a contract either next month or in April for the other three from New Flyer. These are just the three from Gillig. So we're getting them from two vendors.
Got it. Yep.
Yeah.
Understood. Are we then going to use them for 6 months or 12 months before we order more? That's what I'm wondering.
So I'm going to ask our train, as I start developing this plan and the options in the plan, I'm going to ask them to proceed slowly with it because as we saw hybrid personal vehicles come out, they had a lot of issues with them. Maybe not early on in their service life, but we had issues with them mid-service life where they were completely dead. There was no option really other than replacement or a repair that was as much as a replacement. So I'm going to ask them to proceed slowly.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Len.
Commissioner Gonzalez.
So my question was compared to the other companies, it in the same ballpark for price? That's like $900,000 per bus.
So are you looking for a comparison between a diesel bus and the hybrid? Is that what the?
No, you
question-
said you were buying three and then threes from a different company. Are you buying them because you want to test different companies?
Yes, we do want to test different vendors and they actually partnered with us. So, and I will ask you to step in if I get this wrong, but when we first started looking at some of the battery electric buses and some of the alternate fuels, very few of them met the Buy American Act requirements. So these two vendors have buses that meet that requirement. And as we get mandated to start putting low or no emission vehicles, we wanted to make sure that we're testing to see which vehicles may work the best for us, both performance and longevity, and understand really what our maintenance and operation costs are going to be associated with these. So another reason to proceed slowly to gather as much data. And then as you've did the math, it's about 900,000. Lan, could you please remind me how much a 35-foot diesel bus is in comparison? Over 600,000. So it's about a 50% increase above a diesel bus.
Go ahead, Mayor Pro Tem.
Yes, Madam Chair. What kind of warranty comes with these?
That is a great question. And even if you have a warranty, what does that really mean? So, Blaine, you're going to have to remind me the duration on the warranties for these, but we do get a very standard warranty with them. And as long as the company's staying in business, they can typically, and Gillig is a well-known brand, but they will do replacement parts and repairs, but I don't know the duration. Do you recall? Okay, so did you hear that? It depends on which components or parts would be involved in a maintenance related issue, whether or not that was covered by warranty.
And what is the longevity of the battery on this bus?
Do you happen to know the answer to that question?
I don't know the battery on the hybrids. I do know the battery life, a regular battery electric buses, those normally last 6 years. And you have to replace them after 6 years. I believe the hybrids would, from what I understand, they last longer because you are not using the battery all the time. It's in between diesel and battery.
Okay, any more tough questions?
One more, please.
Okay, go ahead.
And the cost of the replacement of these batteries is going to be what? Where we're talking in 6 years, we're going to have to replace batteries. So that's going to increase more than the $2 million here.
I don't believe we have replacing batteries as part of this hybrid. We did purchase additional battery. I can get that information for you. But from memory, I think it's something that we did include in the initial purchase for the 4 battery electric buses. We can get that information for you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, do we want to consider a motion on all of the contracts for approval?
I'll go ahead and move approval on all the contracts, Mayor Dixon.
Okay,
I'll second.
okay, and we have a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
Okay, so we got one who is not in favor. That's okay. I assume it's what?
He said aye.
Well, he said
Oh, yeah.
aye, he opposes. Yeah. Yep. So I got that, even though it's late in the afternoon. So. Okay, let's go on to El Paso County contracts. Josh.
Good afternoon, Josh Palmer, County Engineer. Excuse me. The county has 7 contracts to bring before you today. The first 5 are material POs, purchase orders for our 2024 maintenance program. The first is a purchase order for our cover coat aggregate. These are our chips for our chip seal program. Amount is $500,000 to Smith Construction. Second is a purchase order for our aggregates. This is for our gravel program, our rural road gravel program. This is a not to exceed $80,000 purchase order. And you can see there we have multiple vendors. So we have the option of purchasing from whichever vendor has materials available and at the best cost for us. So this is a not to exceed dollar amount of $800,000. The third is a purchase order for our crack seal material, again, for our 2024 crack seal program. This is the work that we do internal with our highway division, $60,000 to Maxwell Products, Inc. The fourth purchase order is for our chip seal oil, purchase order of $1 million to Suncor. The next, excuse me. The next is a contract for our 2024 asphalt overlay program, $5 million to Martin Marietta. And the final is for our 2024 pavement preservation program, $5 million to A1 Chip Seal Company. And I will mention as a just kind of an add-on, and Commissioner Gonzalez and Commissioner Williams heard this yesterday, but our 2023 pavement preservation program won an award, a Colorado Asphalt Pavement Association award, with the same contractor, A1 Chip Seal, for 2023. So it's a program that is working and is visible and is well recognized.
And it is. It's a great program. So do we have any questions on these contracts? All right, a motion to approve El Paso County contracts.
I move approval of the El Paso County contracts as presented. John Graham.
Thank you.
Second.
All right, with Commissioner Gonzalez seconding it. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, thank you. The next item is the Transit Services Monthly Update. Lan.
Good afternoon, Line Route Transit Services Division Manager. In your packet is our monthly report, and this report includes the entire year 2023 ridership information. On page number 3 in this report, we included the year-over-year comparison to look at 2023 final numbers compared to prior years. We did see about 30% increase from last year in terms of fixed route ridership. However, compared to 2019, which is pre-pandemic, we're looking at 89% of the recovered ridership. According to the latest information we have from the American Public Transit Association, we are still ahead of the national average, which is 77% as of November. So we'll continue to monitor that information. Also in your transit highlight section, we included information for this cold weather transport effort that transit was very proud to be part of. We were able to transport 19 passengers during cold weather, either to shelters or from one shelter to another. This is a huge community effort, and we are happy to be part of that. The second item in and in this highlight is a apples to apples comparison to the extent that we can on ridership. The board requested this information a couple months ago with the understanding that we have added more services over the last few service changes. And these are the transit routes that we planned to schedule to have the same level of frequency during weekdays. Overall, we do see an increase from 2022 to 2023, and the information that we have comparing to 2019 is still lower than 2019, which is actually consistent with our annual ridership that we're looking at. Before we move on to the transit ridership survey presentation, do you have any questions for me?
Go ahead, Pro Tem
Uh,
Mayor.
thank
Mayor
you,
Pro
Madam
Tem.
Chair. Just for information, okay? Where does Route 5 go to? Because I see you got 308,220, I'm sorry.
Mhm.
And then it's still, 2008. That's a lot of people. Where is that at?
Route 5 is one of our higher ridership routes, you're right. And it goes from downtown bus terminal in the downtown area to Citadel.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you. On Platte. With that, we have been requested by the CAC and later on by the board to share the 2023 rider survey information. We initially contracted service out with a contractor, but there was some delay in the process. And in the end, our transit data analyst, Tara Evans, who was able to basically use the raw data, raw numbers that we were able to collect through the consultants, and she had to basically write the report herself. And before we have the full report, she's here to share some highlights with you. So with that, Tara.
Hello, Tara Evans, Mountain Metropolitan Transit Data Analyst. I'd like to share with you some of our survey results. Let's see, I think he told me these arrows were how that worked. So first of all, I want to talk about why we conduct a rider survey. And there's several reasons. It helps us to learn about our riders, how they use transit, what their needs are. It helps us as we're planning to add new routes or make changes to routes to know what our riders' needs are. We find out how they feel about our service, what they like, what they don't like, what we can improve, and how we can meet our goal of providing clean, safe, reliable transit in Colorado Springs. It's also a federal requirement. That's very important that we would conduct a rider survey at least once every 5 years. We choose to conduct a rider survey every 3 years in concordance with our Title VI plan. And that way that rider survey can inform that plan. So that's well in meeting the federal requirement by doing it every 3 years more than as is required. For our rider survey, it was conducted last May, so May of 2023, between the 3rd and the 14th. And we did a stratified random sampling was our method, which means we tried to collect surveys based on ridership on the routes. So the higher the ridership, the more routes, the more surveys we tried to collect on a particular route. So this graphic shows the gray bar is the ridership, the annual ridership from 2022 that was used to determine the target number of surveys. The purple bar is the actual number of surveys that we collected, and the golden diamond was the target. So we actually hit our target, met it on the goal on 17 out of 33 of our routes. And on 23 out of 33 of our routes, we were at least 80% of the target. So the goal was that we needed to collect at least 1,000 surveys. We collected a total of 1,121. So we did meet our goal to have a survey that was 95% accurate with a plus or minus 5% margin of error. And we also did collect during different times of the day and different days of the week, so that we sampled weekday ridership as well as Saturdays and Sundays, because those populations can vary a bit. The survey was designed, it was two-sided with 29 questions, including a final question where it was open-ended, where they could give us suggestions for what they'd like to see improved with transit. And it was designed to kind of look at our riders in 4 different ways. Who is riding MMT, how they get to and from transit, what do they use it for, how do they use our services, and how well do we meet their needs? Some of the key results that we found, this chart shows our ridership based on age and gender. Now, when we did our 2020 survey 3 years ago, we found that there was a gender gap where we had more males than females riding transit, was 3-2. And then further results suggested that one of the reasons for that could be that the females did not feel as safe as at our bus stops and our facilities. Males rated the safety of the stops much higher than females did. You can see from our 2023 results that that gender gap has shrunk. We're now 5 males to 4 females. And we have made some marked improvements in our bus stops over the last 3 years. We've added shelters where possible, lighting improvements. We have a new contractor that is responsible for the maintenance, and we are getting glowing reports on the cleanliness of bus stops has improved a great deal. So we're hopeful that these survey results show that the safety is an improvement and is attracting more females out to ride our service. The survey results show that we do offer an essential service to the community because only a quarter of our riders own a personal vehicle. More than half of our riders live in households, regardless of household size, that earn less than $25,000 annually. 38% indicated they would not be able to travel if MMT did not exist. We serve students. 1 in 10 of our riders is a student, both college and high school. And they use our services for a variety of reasons to get to work, shopping, medical, recreational, city and social services, many purposes. We found that our riders, more than half, use either cash or a one-ride ticket to pay their fare, so 55%. The yellow bar and the orange, the yellow is our special fare, those that are qualified to ride for 85 cents, which is our elderly, the seniors, the youth, which is riders between 6 and 18, and then our Medicare disabled folks. And then our regular fare, the orange bar, is the $1.75 fare for regular adult fare. And interestingly enough, we launched a mobile ticketing app in 2021, and already nearly a third of our riders indicated that they have tried the Ride MMT mobile ticketing app. So that was a very positive response in a very short time. We asked our riders about how they get informed about our services. This is important to note so that when we have delays or closures, there's unforeseen circumstances, detours, things like that, we can get the word out. Also, when we do a major service change that we do a couple of times a year, we know how to get the word out so we can get that public feedback. So we looked at all of our riders by age and how they get informed about the bus. So if you look at that blue bar at the bottom, everybody uses drivers and the staff from MMT. That's a common resource among riders of all ages. There's also popular are our printed route schedules with the maps and the timetables. We have a few that use pretty much only our very elderly. Most riders are using the radio or TV. Interestingly enough, I thought that riders of all ages are using our website. That's very popular as well, along with the route schedules and the drivers is the website, even for our older group. And then other electronic means, things like the Google Maps or My Next Bus, and they're primarily used by the younger riders. So we have a variety of ways that people collect information. And the big takeaway there is that we need to continue to use all these means so that we can reach out to as many people as we can as we have changes or are seeking feedback. We asked our riders that last question about was open-ended, but we also had a question where they rated several different aspects of our service, with 1 being poor and 5 being excellent. Our average answer was 4.04, so very high. If 3 was considered average, all of our scores were above average, with our lowest being a 3.64. So the top ranked areas that riders like the most are the convenience of fares and transfers, the courtesy of our drivers. They feel like they're getting a good value for their fare, and the overall quality and the safety of our buses. The places that we have area and room for improvement are the cleanliness of our bus stops and facilities. So we've made some improvements, but there's still room to do more. They are the availability of weekend service and the hours and frequency of service. This was not, we've added a lot of weekend service in the last year, a lot of later hours and evening service as well. So the complaints here were mainly that there's just a few folks that work outside of our hours, either earlier or later than we run. Our schedules don't run as late on the weekends as they do on the weekdays. So it wasn't really asking for more routes, just they wish our hours were a little longer. We took a look at our average rider, just kind of the average all the way across. They're low income, typically white and not Hispanic or Latinx, about 61%. Most of them speak English, but we do have a 6% that speak Spanish. Nearly 90% of our riders have a smartphone. They're employed mostly full or part-time. They usually walk to reach transit. They often work in the leisure hospitality industry, so restaurants, hotels, things like that. 57% of our riders have a high school degree as far as our high school graduation diploma is as far as their education is gone. And then 38% do have some college experience. Most of them indicate if we did not exist, they would have to walk to make their trip. And the average trip, based on their perception, is 56 minutes long. We also found, it's not on here, but the average rider takes 2 buses on an average trip, so 1 transfer. We also looked at how our riders use the bus, and we're able to classify them based on that into one of 4 different types. So nearly half of our riders are what we would term an all-purpose rider, meaning that they use the bus regularly or frequently for more than one reason. So it's kind of their primary means of transportation. Another quarter, a little more than a quarter of our riders. Do you want me to?
Hold on. Do we have a question?
Do you have a question?
Yes, thank you,
Oh, sorry.
Madam Chair. So on the rides for about 56 minutes per trip, so that's not out and back. So would it
No,
be?
that's a one-way trip.
So the average person would be working almost 2 hours.
If they were doing a round trip, that's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Correct. About a quarter of our riders are what we term sole purpose riders. So think of this as the commuters. The primary reason for a sole purpose rider to ride the bus is to get to work. And that's nearly 27 or 28%. The other quarter is made up of either the occasional rider, just like it sounds, just uses the bus every once in a while, or a first timer visitor who, again, wouldn't use it very often, but and we can look at the way that those different riders use the bus, how they break down as far as gender or age, and look at how we can maybe offer better service to these different kinds of groups. And then if there's any other questions, I'd be happy to try and answer them.
I have a question kind of to follow up on Commissioner Gonzalez's. Do you think a lot of those who are in the hour or more are heading over to our DHS facility on Garden of the Gods? Was there any data to support that?
I don't have specific data to support that. We could look at the ridership of the routes that go to DHS. So we've got the 14 and the 34. But those are decent ridership routes. The 14 particularly, the 2 also serves DHS. Our top routes, as Lan mentioned, were Route 5, as one of you all noticed, and the Route 25, and then the 33, which is the Manitou Springs free shuttle. Those are our highest ridership. Also, the 11 does very well. That's on South Nevada. So based on our very highest ridership routes, it doesn't necessarily support that.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions? Very interesting survey. So there's no further questions, thank you very much. That's just an information report. We
Thank you.
appreciate it. Just for those who are arriving, we have a few more items before we get to the 2:30 CAC meeting. We'll try and finish up our regular business meeting in about 15 minutes. I think. Okay. All right. Item 8B, City of Colorado Springs IGA with PERTA and PERTA 3 funds.
Hello, yeah, thank you, Gail Stern with the City of Colorado Springs. As we discussed informally at the last board meeting, there's been an intergovernmental agreement drafted between PPRTA and the City of Colorado Springs that would allow the city to advance a PPRTA 3 project with city funds now and be reimbursed with PPRTA funds in 2025. In the City of Colorado Springs particular case, there is a property that's currently owned by the BNSF Railways that is adjacent to Nevada Avenue. If you're familiar with the area, that property runs just south of Commerce Street or between Fillmore and Commerce Street on the south end and runs to the north to just north of Mountain View Lane. It is approximately 100 feet wide and just over a mile long, so about 12 acres of property. As was mentioned earlier by Mr. Godfrey, we've been trying to purchase property for a long time and now BNS wants to sell and they want to sell now. We've gone through an appraisal process. We've come to an agreement price and the city would like to be able to use city funds today to make the purchase and receive reimbursement at PPRTA for those actual costs that would have been project costs in the future. Any questions for the city?
Are there any questions? This was discussed last month when the railway actually decides to take action. Sometimes it's best if we move along with it. They do seem to be their own separate government. So I will take a motion for approval.
Randy Helms, motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second, John Graham.
Okay, there is a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, thank you. Now we have item C, which is a similar item. El Paso County, Josh Palmer.
Hello again, Josh Palmer, County Engineer. Similar to what the city is requesting, the county is requesting approval of an IGA to allow the county to self-fund the design of the PPRTA 3A list project, Baptist Hodgin Roller Coaster Intersection Project. We would like to self-fund the design in 2024 and then be reimbursed for those design costs in 2025 with the PPRTA 3 funds and have the project construction ready as soon as possible in 2025. We have a traffic study and conceptual designs for this intersection, and we've identified this as part of our long-term capital program as a priority project. So we'd like to be able to start on the design now and be ready for construction in 2025. And this IGA would allow us to start that design now.
Okay, are there any questions? All right, there being no questions, I will entertain a motion to approve.
I move to approve the El Paso County IGA with PPRTA as presented. John Graham.
I second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Letter D, the letter of support for bridge investment program grant application. Gail.
Yes, Gail Sturdivant. So the city would like to pursue a bridge investment program, which is one of the new programs underneath the IIJA, to get a planning grant to start determining the best way to replace the Academy Boulevard Bridge that currently goes over Platte Avenue. So this would be our total ask is going to be for $1.5 million, and 50% of that, or $750,000, would come out of the city's bridge emergency fund. We are asking for PPRTA's letter of support for this particular grant application, and a draft has been provided for your consideration.
Ms. Ivy, go ahead.
My only comment was, unless this was included in the 2024 budget and it's already a budget line item, I would just ask that the last paragraph, first sentence be modified to indicate that PPRTA has voter approval for and anticipates providing the local match, which is consistent with what we've done in some similar letters in the past.
However, this one is included in the 24 budget.
Perfect.
So, yes, thank you. Sorry, I meant to catch you on that one earlier.
Nope, that's fine. We were coordinating on other things. My apologies.
That is fantastic. Way to go. All right. Any questions for Gail on this item? Okay, I will take a motion to approve the grant letter.
Mayor Dixon also move.
Okay,
I'll second John Graham.
all right. All in favor, say aye.
I got a discussion question.
Oh, go ahead, Commissioner Gonzalez.
So on the back side, I guess that's the letter. So multimodal, what will that entail? Buses, spikes?
So I would say some of this is a planning grant, some of that would be determined. So when we did go through the Platte Avenue corridor study, there is a desire to have a connection on Platte Avenue down below. So if we needed to have any lengthen in the bridge so we could accommodate bike infrastructure in the future, then that would be something to be considered in the planning activity, but we don't know today. This is a planning grant only. It would do a planning and environmental linkage study is what this would fund.
Okay, with that question, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, we had one opposed on that. Letter E, maintenance of effort reports.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Rick Sonnenberg. The establishing IGA requires the maintenance of effort reports to be submitted each year. The practice has been in February after each member government has approved their upcoming annual budget in December. All six member governments have submitted their submittals claiming that they meet the maintenance of effort provision with the, as the board will recall, the board revised the base year from 2004 to 2017. So the CAC found that all six member governments reports were in compliance with the provision. So the CAC has recommended the board approve all six.
Okay, any questions? All right, there being no questions, I'll take a motion to approve.
I move approval of the maintenance of effort reports, Councilman Donaldson.
I'll second John Graham.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, that passes. Thank you, Rick, for collecting those and everybody for sending them in. Item F, the City of Colorado Springs monthly change order.
Madam Chair, the city's change order log and the real estate log are presented in your packets for information.
Okay, any questions regarding that? And then letter G is El Paso County monthly change order and property acquisition report.
Likewise, information in your packet is there and available to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, any questions? All right, thank you. We can move on to item 9A is the appointment of a committee to review any legislative issues that come up quickly. Is that what I'm got that correct?
Yes, Madam Chair. Similar to last year, staff is recommending that the board chair and vice chair, of course, we want to limit it to two because three becomes a meeting. So the board chair and the vice chair be the subcommittee to be the rapid response if there's any legislation that cannot wait until the next board meeting. So it's just a motion. It's not a board policy. It's just a motion for the legislative session delegating to the chair and vice chair to be the rapid response subcommittee, and then report back. If they take any action, then report back to the board at the next regular meeting.
Yeah, Gonzalez is concerned he has to trust us. I don't know. I'll make sure I call you, Lohinos, at 12 o'clock at night. All right. All in favor of
Move to
no?
approve.
Thank you. Second. Or you, I know, do you have a second?
I'll
Randy?
second.
I wasn't going
Right,
to second
third and
myself.
thirded.
And third.
Can I make a suggestion? Sorry,
Yes.
I'm chiming in here. Certainly I understand the need to act in a short period of time. But you know, obviously at the county, what we do is we have a policy that kind of outlines specific pieces of policy or particular concerns. So for example, anytime that, you know, revenue would be impacted, or you know, we could come up with kind of an outline of things that we would typically be looking for to take a position on, rather than just kind of carte blanche. Not to say that I have you know, huge concerns with our chair and our vice chair or anything along those regards, but I just feel like maybe it would be helpful to give both our lobbyist and our chair and vice chair kind of parameters, so they're not put into an uncomfortable position if something does come up.
So what we could do is see if we can work on at El Paso County on some sort of parameters based upon what we use. And for now, we could continue and make sure we consult with our fellow board members, especially if it's going to affect us financially, or we could postpone it for a month and just hope that the gun bills weigh the legislature down.
I'm okay with going ahead forward on it. That was just kind of a like, it might be helpful for both the chair and the vice chair and the board moving forward if we kind of just developed a list of what our lobbyist is typically looking for and the kind of general positions we would be looking to make as a document to help guide in those situations.
Okay, go ahead, Rick.
My vision is that it's 99% probable that we would be on the defense and that our revenue would be harmed. So since we're really a one revenue source entity, so I don't know if that's guardrails for potential interim policy. It's just if our revenues could be harmed, then the board chair and vice chair can take some rapid response action.
Work on something internally and run it by Dan, the lobbyist, and then bring it back to the board next month for consideration. Just maybe a one-pager description that Rick just mentioned and maybe a few other points. But that's easy enough, I think.
Okay. And certainly I know I'm one that I'd probably be calling Carrie in the middle of the night anyway. So, and then Gonzalez at 6:05 in the morning.
We gotta call him. Can I ask one question of Rick?
Yes, go ahead.
Rick, would this be anything like the military? Like if you have extra duties, like jump pay or something, do we get a rapid response team pay up here, like additional?
Sorry, not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
She'll add a brownie to our lunch.
Same as county.
Okay, so use of the policy with care and maybe some, you know, just keeping and looking for ideas of what we've had to deal with in the past. I can remember some in the past 6 years.
O'Malley, my name is Fadil Lee. I live in your district, city council district 6. Hey, I was.
Okay, got it. I think Mr. Lee came on separate from us. Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. Okay, thank you for your confidence, we think. All right, next. We have an appointment of citizen advisory committee members.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The board has established a subcommittee of the board chair, board vice chair, and the CAC chair to review applications for vacant at-large CAC positions, and there were 2 vacancies. The subcommittee met on the January 29, held interviews, and is recommending to the full board for appointment Tony Joya for the at-large regular position and Mr. Rick Hoover for the at-large alternate position.
Okay, the interviews were very interesting and enjoyable. We will entertain a motion to approve the appointments.
I'll make a motion to approve Randy Helms.
And a second?
Second, Mayor Dixon.
Okay, thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay. All right. We are going to hold on item 10C for just a minute. So, letter number 10 or item 9C, letter 10, are there any agenda topics that people wish to address for the next meeting? We can look at that legislative one. I'll try to remember what we have considered. Any communications? Okay, with that, we are adjourned from our PPRTA meeting.